Okay, I am getting fed to the freaking heck up with this stuff, man. Yesterday, we made a video talking about Samuel Montembeault and Team Canada, and the quote-unquote political reason as to why he got selected to play for that team. John Shannon went out there and spoke out about how, in his opinion, it was because of politics. It's because Sammy Montembeault is a Quebec guy. They had to get a Quebec guy on the team. Therefore, Montembeault made the squad just because he's from Quebec. It was a ridiculous thought. We made the video about it. Y'all had your say in the comment section. But in this video, we're diving into even more Team Canada selection nonsense and a new thought that has emerged based off of what Darren Dreger said on TSN 690. If you thought the Sammy Montembeault stuff was ridiculous, then hold on to your horses, fellas, because this one is going to be even worse. We're going over to the Montreal Canadiens and talking about their captain, Nick Suzuki, one of the more notable snubs of this Team Canada at the Four Nations Faceoff. 25 years old, 5'11", right-handed guy, signed on till the end of 2030, making $7.8 million. We all know and love Nick Suzuki, right? Initial Vegas Golden Knights draftee, eventually traded over to Montreal in the Pacioretty trade. Suzuki eventually became the captain, and he posted up a 77-point year last season in 82 games. This year, he's got 27 points in 26 games, on pace for 86 over a full 82-game season. He is on pace for yet another 30-goal season, and he is on pace for a career high in assists on the year. Nick Suzuki has been awesome. And the best part is, you can say that his production has actually been very strong this season, but a lot of that has come in the past few days or so. To open up the season, you could very well say that Nick Suzuki wasn't really doing all too well, even though he was still a point-per-game guy for the first, let's say, 4-ish weeks of the season. There were moments throughout the beginning of this opening campaign where Slafkovsky and Suzuki were getting called out for not really being their best, even though Suzuki was still getting a point every game or so, or maybe even 2 points a game in some instances. There was still more to get out of this player. People were questioning his conditioning and how he kind of looks like a little bit of a step back from what he was last season, but that's neither here nor there because Nick Suzuki has genuinely taken further steps throughout the course of this season, and his point production, being over a point per game, reflects that. He has been a very strong hockey player, and if you had said that Nick Suzuki should have made Team Canada at the Four Nations Faceoff, okay, yeah, I definitely won't disagree with that assessment. There are some centers around the NHL whose lack of presence on Team Canada certainly is noteworthy. Nick Suzuki is one, Mark Scheifele, I'd say, is the other big one, and then there are guys that did make the team that you're questioning. Okay, is Nick Suzuki a worse hockey player than Brad Marchand, who made the team, for example? Odd comparison because one's a center and one's a winger, but the same thought remains when you think about a guy like Anthony Chiarelli, for example, who did make Team Canada. We had spoken about this in an earlier video, but I think Chiarelli's goal production in the past 3 weeks or so has definitely allowed him to put himself on the map in a bigger way than we ever thought was possible. Thus, he made the Team Canada squad. But now, we had Darren Dreger on TSN 690 go out there and reveal a different reason as to why Team Canada decided against Nick Suzuki. It doesn't have anything to do with his play. In fact, it's a lot more embarrassing than that. Take a look at this tweet made by Demidov. Per Darren Dreger on TSN 690, Team Canada called over a dozen players to let them know they hadn't made the team, and Nick Suzuki wasn't one. Team Canada is upset that Nick Suzuki didn't go to the World Championship. He might be out for a little vengeance after this. It's a flat-out disrespectful act. Hopefully, we see Nick Suzuki go off. And this is absolutely childish from Team Canada, if the way this information is being presented is 100% fact. That Team Canada wanted Nick Suzuki on their World Championship squad back in the spring, this previous 2024 season, and because Suzuki declined, because he didn't end up playing, they're like, okay, screw it. Screw that guy. We're not even going to use him on our Four Nations team. We wanted him before, he let us down, he didn't show up, so now we're going to snub him again. And normally, if Team Canada has common courtesy and goes out there calling all of the other guys who didn't make the team saying, "Oh, sorry, Mark Scheifele, I just wanted to call you up and say that on behalf of Team Canada, we appreciate your work ethic, we appreciate your skill, but unfortunately, we're not going to use you on our team this year. Sorry, hang up." They call the next guy. They call Evan Bouchard or something. "Hey, Evan, sorry about this. You're a great player, but we're not going to use you on Team Canada. We're going to go with Colton Parayko instead." To go out there and call the guys, I actually do think is a pretty nice touch. I don't think it's necessary, but I do think it's nice. But to frame it in such a way where it's like, yeah, Team Canada calls all of their rejects that could have been actual guys to be on the team. But if they were going out there and calling some guys, why are they not calling Nick Suzuki, even though he is one of the more productive Canadians and he is a very versatile two-way center option for this Canadian team? If it's straight up, they just don't like that he didn't go to the World Championship last spring, then that is so childish. There's a reply here from Benjamin Lynch saying, alternatively, maybe Nick Suzuki is so far down the list of Team Canada candidates for this tournament that they didn't feel any obligation to make the call. There's a solid 2 or 3 dozen players whose names are thrown out about for this tournament who didn't make the team. Not all of them received calls. If you don't think that Nick Suzuki is at least on the bubble for this team, you're not very informed. And the interesting thing about this is there actually was a post made by Curtis Nye that was posted on Twitter as well. I wanted to bring your attention to this here. So the initial Darren Dreger tweet said that Team Canada called over a dozen guys to say that they didn't make the team. Over a dozen, let's just assume 15 to 20. This is what Curtis goes out there and says. If Canada could send a second team to the Four Nations, you would have these names right here. Stamkos, Tavares, Bedard, Barzal, Scheifele, Hyman, Thomas, Suzuki, Giroux, Huberdeau, O'Reilly, Duchesne, Celebrini, Letang, Bouchard, Riley, Dobson, Chychrun, Uyghur, Thompson, and Skinner. That is a full roster of 13 forwards, 6D, and 2 goaltenders. So what is that? 21 guys? Team Canada could have legitimately let every one of these guys know that they didn't make the team. And this list doesn't even include Bo Horvat, who didn't make the initial team. So Team Canada, I mean, you think about some of the guys that were included on the second team that Curtis went out there and posted. Yeah, Mark Scheifele, I'd say, is one of the biggest names. Nick Suzuki, I would say, is also one of these big names. Stamkos, Tavares, yeah, they're up there too. Would Suzuki not at least deserve a phone call if you're going to go out there and start calling bubble guys who are maybe just not it this season to make the team? I mean, for Darren Dreger to frame it in such a way where it's like, yeah, they were ticked off that he didn't join them at the World Championships. That is so stupid, and it feels really disrespectful here. Are the Montreal Canadiens getting disrespected with this act? Is Nick Suzuki getting disrespected by Team Canada and the way their organization is being run? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Is this really something to get up in arms about? Do I have a right to feel upset? I mean, I am not Nick Suzuki. I don't want to go out there and say that I'm feeling upset on his behalf. It's just kind of from an objective standpoint, hey, you treat your players with respect, right? And you don't go out there in a petty way and disregard guys because you're upset that they decided to take more of a break after a long 82-game season last year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Nick Suzuki Team Canada snub, the real reason, quote-unquote, as to why everything went down the way it was, and whether or not you actually think it's a big deal. I think it's a big enough deal that we could go out there and make a video commentary about it, but then again, I do think that most things are a big enough deal to make a video commentary about it. I mean, it's my job, after all, right, to go out there and make these videos. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about this Nick Suzuki debacle. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign 9 and bye.